Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check today's video out. It's going to be a good video for y'all today because I'm going to share with you guys something that it, even as long as I've been fishing as an angler, this still amazes me. And we're going to be talking about how bass don't do what they're supposed to do, or what we think they're going to do, a lot of different times when we're on the water. And I got one situation that I want to talk about specifically in today's video. I just got back from fishing that Toyota Series tournament in Kentucky Lake. And guys, even though I sucked in the tournament, I learned so much about bass behavior in that tournament that I want to share with you guys, because we all have a lot of preconceived notions. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because you guys hear me talk about this a lot. You know, I really think that I don't think we ever need to know everything about the fish. I think that aspect of mystery and magic is super critical in the sport of bass fishing. But I learned some stuff I want to share with you guys today in the video, so we'll get into that. Also, guys, just before we get started, I just want you to know that right now Tackle Warehouse has got a huge sale going on. They got stuff at like 35% off on a lot of different tackle and rods and reels. If you guys are interested in taking advantage of it, I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. And if you guys use and bookmark that link, channel gets a small percentage of a commission on anything you buy. So that's a good way to support the channel if you're interested. So really appreciate that. Okay, guys, here's one thing that I want to talk about that I learned at Kentucky Lake. Now, all of my bass fishing experience in the past, when it comes to this one situation, this is how it goes. Now, Kentucky Lake got hammered with rain right before the tournament, like 2 or 3 days before the tournament. They got like 10 inches of rain. Flooded the whole area out. You know, Kentucky Lake turned to mud from one end to the other. Literally, the water visibility was probably, 6 inches or less in most of the lake throughout the course of the tournament. Really dirty and fresh mud. It wasn't like a stable type mud. It was fresh mud, and the lake was coming up very rapidly. It was coming up like, a foot or two a day. Rapid rise, dirty water. Now, in a situation like this, everything that I have learned about bass fishing is that you don't have to fish deep, and you can fish shallow with power baits. You don't have to finesse them out, and the fish just aren't active out deeper or off the bank. And that's just the way it's always been to me. Guys, in this tournament, it was the direct opposite. It's like the fish were not in that thick cover and the shallow water like I thought they would be. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some fish caught shallow, just in a variety of ways. But overall, there was a lot of fish caught in this tournament out off the bank in that muddy water. I'm talking about, guys, you'd be like on a main lake point, and the water visibility would be this much, or, probably that much, 3 or 4 inches, 5 inches at the very most. And guys, there were guys out there fishing out off the bank deep, catching them. And I just have never ever seen that before. It's like any other tournament that I've been to in my life. It's like when the conditions get like that, you better be up shallow, throwing a spinnerbait, throwing, chatterbait or jigs or whatever on the bank, because the fish will move to the bank when that water goes up. So it makes me realize that there is so much about bass that we simply don't understand. And the only way to find out about what bass are doing is you have to experiment. Now, I'll give you guys another example I talked about in my video yesterday. Is in that dirty water with the thick cover, I went to a jig in the tournament yesterday, and my co-angler that I fished with, he caught him on a little bitty tube in that dirty water. Just a quiet, diminutive little minnow looking like tube, a couple different colors. I never would have tried that in a million years. That's nothing I would have ever tried, because all of my bass fishing experience in that type of situation, it's like you use dark colored creature baits, dark colored jigs, lizards, and a little bit larger lures, power fishing lures. So for a bass to be able to prefer a little bitty bait like that in muddy water is something I've just never seen before. I mean, occasionally I've seen it like in the summertime when it's really hot and the bass are finicky, and specifically right where to cast. Sometimes, they like a little something a little bit smaller. But he was just fan casting that tube everywhere, up on bare banks, just throwing it around whatever, and catching fish on it. So when you're thinking about bass fishing, it's like one of the things that's a challenge to do on my videos here is I'm trying. I teach what has worked for me. It's like I'm not saying that I know everything about bass fishing, because nobody does. We're all students of the sport, but I try to share with you guys. I've been fishing for 50 years, and I share with you guys how I've caught fish. And sometimes it works for you guys, and sometimes it doesn't. But the thing about bass fishing is, like, you have a limited amount of time, so you can't try everything. Let's just say that tournament at Kentucky Lake that I just fished, there's literally 100 different lures I could have used, 100 different colors, profiles, lures, and you've got a limited amount of time throughout the course of the day, not only what lures you can use, but the areas that you can fish. So you have to make a calculated guess on what is going to be the best area, the best technique, and the best lure. Now, sometimes you hit it right, and sometimes you don't. That's just bass fishing, but you never know until you experiment. So one of the pieces of advice I want to give you guys from what I learned at Kentucky Lake here is, don't ever take anything for granted. It's like you have got to experiment, and you've got to be willing to change up a little bit as far as your approach goes. And I'll give you guys another example of this tournament. It's like there was a lot of this floating sawdust mat at Kentucky Lake. And every day, I've never hardly ever been in a situation where there was flooded sawdust in April that I couldn't catch them really good with a jig. They did not want it. They didn't. A lot of guys caught them shallow. At Kentucky Lake, there's these yellow flowers that look like dandelions that grow in the back of the coves, and the water was flooded in them. Occasionally you'd see like a little yellow thing sticking up. As it turned out, that's how a lot of guys caught their fish, just on chatterbaits and spinnerbaits in those yellow flowers. But again, you have 50 different techniques you could use, and how do you land on the right one? It's like literally Kentucky Lake, you could fish riprap, you could fish docks, you could fish gravel points, you could fish rocky points, you could fish bluffs, you could fish gravel bars, you could fish ledges, you could fish sawdust, you could fish bushes, lay down trees, on and on and on, and yellow flowers. So you only got so much time. You can't do everything. So one of the things, that's just another reason bass fishing is so difficult, is you got so many options. And it's like a lot of times, if you're not in the right place at the right time with the right lure, you will not catch any fish. And sometimes it's a small adjustment, just like with my partner using the tube and I'm using the jig. You know, they wanted the tube. That was the bait that those fish wanted, and I never would have considered it. And there's probably a lot of things out there. And that's one of the things that should give you confidence in your own abilities, is that realize that we are all unique individuals, and we all have approaches unique to our own. And your creativity and your imagination and your ingenuity is your strength as an angler, because this is a prime example that experimentation and ingenuity and creativity and imagination was more important than the knowledge that I had. In fact, my knowledge hurt me. I know too much about fishing, and that colors my experience a little bit. So that's another reason why, guys, that anybody can beat anybody else at any given time. You could put a 15-year-old angler in the boat with Kevin Van Dam that has never hardly fished before, and they may try something different than Kevin's doing, and they may beat him on any given day. That's the way bass fishing is. But main thing, guys, is stay open-minded, be willing to change, experiment, innovate a little bit, and that's how you do better than other anglers from time to time. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out, and we'll talk later.